The snooker world has seen its fair share of heated rivalries, but few have been as icy as the one between two of its biggest legends, Hendry and John Higgins. Now, we all know these two aren't exactly known for their warm, fuzzy hugs and friendly chats. In fact, there's been a frosty feud brewing between them that's been making waves. It's the kind of tension where you can't tell whether you should grab some popcorn or prepare for the next awkward silence. So what's behind it all? Was it a misplayed shot, a few harsh words, or something deeper? Stay tuned, because it's a drama packed with twists, and you're going to want to know how it all plays out. It all started during the 2025 Players' Championship in Telford, in a semi-final clash between Judd Trump and John Higgins. Trump came in strong, making 2 century breaks and quickly taking a 3-1 lead. Right after the break, he kept the pressure on with a brilliant 130 in the first frame of the evening. He followed it up with runs of 126 and 88, moving ahead to 4-2. Higgins, though, wasn't ready to give up. He pulled himself back into the game by winning 2 frames in a row, bringing the score to 4-4. But in the 9th frame, just when it felt like he wasn't building momentum, Higgins missed a fairly easy red while on 41. Trump took full advantage and responded with a solid 61 break to go 5-4 up. The final frame was all Trump. He stayed calm and closed the match with breaks of 53 and 23, securing a 6-4 win and a place in the final. Higgins had been in good form, especially after his recent win at the World Open, but this time things didn't go his way. And that's when the real story starts to unfold. During the match, something about John Higgins felt a little slow, not just in terms of points, but his whole rhythm. He was taking longer than usual to play his shots, sometimes up to 32 seconds, and that didn't go unnoticed. While some viewers at home were quietly losing patience, one snooker legend in particular wasn't hiding his thoughts. Hendry, the 7-time world champion, was quick to call it out during the analysis.
All I can do is say what I see, and I never thought I'd say this, but John Higgins is a tough watch at the moment. He's not.
And he meant it. Hendry pointed out that Higgins looks like he was struggling, not just with the scoreboard, but with his confidence. His shots didn't have their usual sharpness, and even the simple ones felt like hard work. Hendry compared Higgins' slow and tense play to Trump's smooth, fast-paced rhythm, saying the difference between them was clear. He believed Higgins was overthinking every move, which only added pressure and made things worse. To him, it looked like Higgins was battling his own nerves more than his opponent. While Trump made the game look effortless, Higgins seemed stuck in a mental maze. Of course, Stephen's words didn't go unnoticed, and that is where the frostiness between these two legends started to really show. John Higgins was already feeling low after the match, and hearing harsh words in the post-match analysis didn't help. Losing a game is tough enough, but being criticised on live TV by another snooker legend, well, that definitely stung, especially since Higgins is still out there competing at the top level. So it was no surprise that he decided to respond. He didn't name names directly at first, but it was pretty clear who he was talking about. He took a jab at Hendry, calling him a cracker, and implied that maybe there was a bit of envy in the mix.
Yeah, for you, you certainly seemed to improve after the interval. At 3-1 down, did you feel you needed to speed things up a little bit?
No, not really. I've heard people like Hendry now try to say I've got to speed up now. He's a cracker, so he is. But no, listen, when you get a little bit older now, you're just a little bit cautious now.
Higgins pointed out that when you're nearing 50, things don't flow quite the same way. You get more cautious. You try to refine your game, even if it means taking a bit longer between shots. And despite all that, he's still managing to go toe-to-toe with the younger generation, a fact he subtly suggested Hendry might wish he could relate to. Higgins also added a hopeful message in the middle of his response, saying it's better to stay positive and focus on the good. Whether that was directed at himself, at Hendry, or both is up for interpretation, But the message was clear. He wasn't about to sit back and take criticism from someone who's no longer in the competitive spotlight. To put it in perspective, Stephen Hendry had stepped away from professional snooker back in 2012 at the age of 43. After 8 years away from the sport, he tried to make a comeback in 2020, but things didn't go as expected. The skills and spark he once had just weren't quite there anymore. His performances didn't impress much, and by 2024 he quietly exited the scene once again. So when Hendry, now behind the pundit's desk, offered up his rather unfiltered thoughts on Higgins's playing style, it was bound to hit a nerve. After all, it came from someone who knew what it felt like to fade from dominance, but also someone who wasn't still out there grinding through tournaments and trying to prove himself. But if you think that was the end of it, think again. Stephen Hendry is definitely someone who can't keep his tongue in check, and he wasn't about to let the situation simmer down. The exchange took a humorous turn when Hendry appeared on the World Snooker Tour's Snooker Club podcast. Host Mark Watson asked Hendry about Kyron Wilson's potential to be a favourite for the Crucible, especially considering how tough it is to win the title a second time after a debut victory. Hendry took the opportunity to playfully jab at John Higgins, referencing his earlier mix-up with Hendry's surname. He joked that since Higgins had mistakenly called him Henry during his post-match interview, Watson could continue calling him the same name. The remark sparked laughter from both Hendry and Watson, with Watson adding that he'd been keeping an eye on the Scottish players in the tournament. While the comment was light-hearted, it was clear Hendry wasn't letting the early attention go unnoticed. Later in the podcast, Hendry defended his role as a pundit, explaining that he needed to be honest with his opinions. He pointed out that if he only complimented the players and avoided critique, his commentary would be boring and ineffective. Despite the banter, Hendry did recognise Higgins's strong performance in his earlier matches, where he narrowly won both of his first 2 matches with scores of 6-5, battling through some difficult moments. However, Hendry stuck to his original criticism of Higgins's pace. He clarified that when Higgins is playing his best, he's usually quick, taking around 23 to 24 seconds per shot. Hendry felt that, to get back into the match against Judd Trump, Higgins needed to speed up his game a bit more. And for now, it seems like the feud has quieted down a bit. No big fireworks at the moment, but knowing Higgins and Hendry, it could flare up again any time. So, is this really the end of the banter? Probably not. Both have had their time at the top, and their rivalry, whether on or off the table, is always entertaining. Do you think Hendry went too far with his comments, or was he just being honest? Let us know what you think. And if you're craving more snooker action, hit the screen below to keep up with all the latest matches and drama.